check.
Well, I mean, I think the last one of his that I saw was The Limits of Control. Did you ever see that one? I never saw that. It's almost, it's very close to a silent movie. There's almost no dialogue in it.
Oh. Well, see, he would be good at that because I'm thinking Dead Man. There's not much dialogue in that movie.
Well, but it's also like very much a stylized thriller kind of thing also, which is unusual for him. But I don't know. He's always had, something. He did that Ghost Dog movie, and I don't know. It's hard to. He's never. I don't think going to make any stuff like his first few ever again.
No.
So there's no more down by law.
Filmmakers should grow and change.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it just based off of the cast.
Yeah, John C. Reilly. It looks like it's going to have some funny moments for sure.
It's got Tom Waits in it, Iggy Pop, Bill Murray.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Bill Murray. Okay, so that's another movie I watched on the plane, the one about Bill Murray and how he just pops up.
Did they make a documentary on that?
A guy made a documentary. It's very much an indie movie, but I recommend it. And again, like his thread is not that strong, but just actually seeing Bill Murray operate, the guy is so quirky.
Yeah.
He's just like maybe the strangest human being on earth. I don't know. He does these really whimsical things. He just pops up at people's parties, and then they were like, "Oh, he showed up at some bar." So they in Austin,
there
Texas.
Used to be a hotline or something you could call to request him, and he may or may not show up.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe
least,
that's
I don't know if it's a hotline or not. But you would basically call a number or like say what you were doing, and
he would maybe appear
possibly,
at your party. Yeah.
And just show up. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He decides his films that way too, though. From what I've heard, is that
like
he just,
a roulette wheel. I mean,
he'll just if somebody will ask him to do something, and I don't know, he just decides things on a whim.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What a life.
Yeah, I was hearing a little bit about that because when it might have been in WTF when Sofia Coppola was talking about how he got involved in Lost in Translation. And I think it was something that she wasn't sure that was going to actually happen until the last minute.
And then he just showed up on the set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's cool.
That's kind of, I mean, it took a lot of work for him to get there.
Yeah.
But to be in that kind of position is pretty cool.
Yeah, where you can just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Doesn't he? He's like part owner of a minor league baseball team.
That sounds like something he would do. He's a diehard enthusiast. Cubs fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to see a minor league game when I was in El Paso. Yeah, because the front desk guy at our hotel just gave my friend and I 2 free tickets, so we went and saw the Chihuahuas.
Was it anything like Bull Durham?
No.
No? Okay.
This is funny. Minor league players appear, at least to me, and maybe it was just our seats, to be much shorter than Major League Baseball players.
I don't think
maybe it was just my
true.
Perception. I was looking at these guys, I'm like,
I'm
none
sure
of them look like they're over 5'4".
People.
They all look like shorties, except the pitcher.
That's pretty funny.
As I was watching the game, I'm like, pitcher seems to be like hunched over just to try to pitch to these guys. I don't know. It's maybe in my head, but
that's funny.
The guy at the front desk that gave us the free tickets actually gave us really good seats.
Nice.
We were only like 6 rows in, and it was dog day at the ballpark.
Oh,
how
cool.
Appropriate for the Chihuahuas game. And it was super fun. Yeah, in El Paso, they sell chapulines at the concession stand. Those are crickets like you can eat in Mexico City.
Yeah.
So I thought I should have bought some just as a souvenir.
You were not tempted to partake?
I've had them before.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Are they?
Yeah, they're crunchy.
Wow.
You have to not think about the fact that you're eating bugs. But
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I would be thinking about it.
Yeah, and I really grossed out one of my friends.
Also, bugs not vegetarian. So,
no, right. Yeah.
There's my out.
The first time we tried them, which was a year ago, last summer, I really grossed out my friend Marilyn because we're eating them on these chips and everybody was fine with it so far. And then I go, look, you can see the little legs. And she's just like, oh.
Yeah, I would be done at that point. That would be it.
Thanks a lot, Jenna. Yeah. But they're good. They're smoky and kind of spicy.
I'll take your word for it. But how was El Paso in general?
It was really interesting. I was there for this multimedia workshop that's led by Border Zine, which is a publication based on University of Texas El Paso's campus.
Okay.
And they do this training every year. So it's supported by Dow Jones, and it's for, multimedia and journalism instructors so that we could tune up our skills and then go back and, teach our students and also encourage them to participate in the Dow Jones internships that go on every year. So we were working on these multimedia packages, and I was sort of disappointed when I first got my assignment because I had really wanted to be part of the Border Patrol team because they got to do a ride along and they're right up there next to the border fence. But our theme was more health, environment, and human impacts.
Okay.
So we were doing, one of our stories was the El Paso Water Authority was going to release all this water from the Rio Grande through the American Canal, and they were concerned because people cross at some of the dry riverbeds every year. And this year there's been an influx of migrants, especially from Central America. So the Water Authority wanted to put this message out, like heads up, don't be in the riverbed. I was just watching one of the Spanish-speaking news stations last night. Maybe
Univision?
There's still been people swept away, unfortunately. So, this message they put out last week, they opened up all the water. It's just like hundreds of thousands of gallons per minute. And if you're caught, it's like a raging river. So then the other part of it was there's an exhibit at UTEP in their Centennial Museum, and it's artwork that was created by migrant children from Guatemala and El Salvador and Honduras that were living in the Tornillo Detention Center, which is south and I want to say east of El Paso. It's now been closed down because it was just like huge and kind of out of control, but thousands of kids cycled through while it was open, and they were mostly teenagers. For one of their classes, because while they were in the detention center, they actually had teachers that were coming in, providing them some kind of loose education. But social studies teachers brought art supplies, and some of the kids, I keep saying students because I think of a college campus. The children that were in detention made art. Most of it got thrown away, but some volunteers from the community and 2 guest curators were able to collect some of it, and they had it on view at UTEP. So I did this story. I actually did like a video that showed a lot of the artwork, and I interviewed one of the curators, this guy David Romo, and he's talking about who these children are and the artwork that they produced and what it's showing, which was a lot of images from their homelands. And then I talked to another social work professor, Mark Lusk from UTEP, and he's talking about child trauma and what it's like if you are a child living through this kind of detention scenario and how disruptive that is, not just for learning, but your life. It's almost like post-traumatic stress disorder, or ACE, but I can't remember what that stands for right now. So those were the packages that we were working on, the multimedia pieces that we created for Border Zine. And then I feel like I really got to know El Paso. I've driven through there a few times, but I hadn't actually stayed there. We stayed for 1 week right by UTEP campus. So we went out, to several of the restaurants in town, and we visited the El Paso Times, and we actually walked across the border into Juarez. That was really interesting.
Oh.
We went when the sun was setting, and I really had on my mind, I want to see if it's anything like Nogales or Tijuana, where I've crossed before. And all of these cities are a little bit alike because they're border cities, and then they're all kind of different. Like in Juarez, El Paso, train runs right through basically the downtown, which I thought was really interesting. And Nogales, as soon as you cross the border from Arizona, there's all these vendors and there's all these pharmacies. And that part of town, to me, it's actually kind of nice, like touristy. And I didn't see that in Juarez. Of course, when we went, the sun was setting and a lot of the shops were closing. But we went on a bar crawl and we hit 3 really interesting places. One place looked like it had bars on the window from the outside and there was no sign. Like, I sent a picture to Chris and he was like, "You're drinking in that place?" ? Exclamation point. Yeah, because it looks sketchy AF. But then the second place was called Quince, and they had just old sun-faded posters of naked women on all the walls and the ceiling. So that was kind of funny. And my friend ordered chips, and they were these homemade potato chips, but then the guy made them up like nachos with like cheese whiz. And it was really...
It's weird.
They ate them, but it looked pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds gross.
And then the last place was the world-famous Kentucky Club, where it is alleged that the margarita was invented.
Okay.
So that is like...
Is there anything to substantiate that?
I don't know. A little placard that's on the ground outside of the bar.
Then...
Yeah. That
takes care of that.
Legit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think if there's any tourism that goes down in Juarez, it's just at that one bar. It's probably the only place that people have heard of. Gotcha. Although Juarez is kind of a neat city.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We think and talk about the border a lot, but I feel like people kept saying El Paso and Juarez is like a news desert because people say border, 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 and you think that you know what's going on, but I didn't feel like we really do. And we live in a border state.
Right.
I didn't feel like I really had an idea of the situation until we actually went in person, because we were crossing back to the U.S. side, and we saw where ICE is keeping probably hundreds or thousands of people waiting to hear if they have asylum. Basically, they're just living under the bridge. They're sleeping in makeshift tents that are made out of those silver emergency blankets.
Oh, wow.
And the area is completely overcrowded. I have no idea what... I heard they just get a frozen burrito for a meal, and I have no idea. It didn't seem very sanitary. There's garbage everywhere. Yeah, things are intense right now. So that experience was very enlightening.
Yeah. I think things are intense in general right now. There's a lot just everywhere. There's so much, it becomes overwhelming because, all the politics and everything right now is just fucked up.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were saying to each other, we're in El Paso at such a crazy and important time because the tariff had just been announced. That video, Trump just tweeted that video of thousands of people walking across the border. Actually, one of our teams saw that happen right in front of them. Like, I don't know, maybe a dozen people. The Border Patrol was shouting at them, "Don't come across. It's dangerous. Don't come across. You will be arrested, apprehended." And they just marched straight across anyway, despite those warnings. So it makes you think about how bad is it if whatever they're leaving behind, that this is what they're facing and they're just going to go for it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to be desperate enough, right?
Yeah.
There has to be this element of desperation completely where you're just like, this can't be worse than where I'm from. So, I mean, yeah, it's I honestly, I don't think that, we're going to be able to fix that on a national election level. I think that we need to do something, and certainly vote out what's there. Yeah. But
we need to do a lot of things. Actually, that's another thing I came away with. I feel like I need to do more.
Yeah.
Personally.
Well, and I think that's what I'm like getting at is that you can't. Things are so fucked right now, and I'm really earning our explicit rating, but they're so fucked right now that you can't unfuck them on a grand scale. It's like you gotta unfuck them locally and then hope that the unfuckedness spreads, because there's so much that all of the processes are in place, and these kind of dinosaur antiquated systems, and all of the bad shit is so pervasive on the national stage that you have to focus on local policy and local things. And it was on the John Oliver I was watching last night. Like the fact that we only need like one more state to ratify the